right, Blake, man, it's good to see you again. The beard, bro,
Yeah.
is
It's-
coming in pretty full.
It's getting out there. It's getting a little wild. It's probably
Usually
time.
people wait until fall before they start, growing
Just
out
wanted
their
a jump
beards and
start,
stuff.
you
Just
know,
go
so-
ahead and get a start on
Yeah.
it. I
So my
hear you.
fall beard will be like down here.
Oh, it'll be epic, man. Yeah, that's the one thing. This is about as much as I can grow. It comes in all patchy and stuff.
Yeah.
I've never been blessed with good genes to grow a beard.
Yeah, this is about as long as it gets till Rachel's like, hey, we got to do something about
Yeah,
this.
sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's been a busy summer. I know it's
Yeah.
been a couple of weeks since we've been able to sit down and just had stuff going on. I've been out of town and
Yeah.
a lot going on. So it's always good to sit down and kind of catch up and
Mm-hmm.
see what you've got going on in your world. I know the last episode that you did with Todd, for anybody out there that may have missed that, super interesting, really
Mm-hmm.
cool guy. And some of the topics you got on, I think we talked about after you got done recording. Just how interesting it was and how you guys probably could have gone on for another hour and talk. So have to get Todd back in here and, talk with him some more. I'm sure there's a lot more y'all could expand on. But what's going on in your world, man? What's your summer looking like?
Man, it's been good. It's, the initial reaction to that question is busy, right? And when you ask anybody, it's either, hey, I'm good or I'm busy.
Busy,
That's
yeah.
always and so we've talked about the strategic coach program I'm in, and we go up once a quarter to Chicago, do an in-person, and it's usually a whole day of class. So I'll fly up on a Thursday, go to the class, and then come back Saturday, which I did last week. I did that last week. And Rachel didn't come with me, so it was just me, and I took a book called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry by a pastor out at, I think he's in Washington, John Mark Comer. And I'd heard about it for a while, but never read it. And it was really interesting. It was truly about eliminating hurry in your life. And it's a faith-based book about, trying to be a better, follower of Christ, but looking at Jesus' life and how in all of his activity that's recorded, he was never in a hurry. And he, had thousands of examples of how we are just overly busy and hurry in our lives. And so
that's the American way. I mean, that's kind of culturally built in. It's like work hard. It's almost romanticized on social media. People are talking about how hard they work. And I'm always on the grind.
How busy I am.
So
and for a long time, early in my career and into it, that was how I measured.
It's like a badge
success.
of honor. It's like, dude, I got
so
80
busy.
hours of work in this week.
I'm so busy. And it's funny when someone think back when someone tells you how busy they are. Like, how often are you impressed?
Yeah.
Right.
Like, bro, you need to slow down.
It's never like, wow, I wish I was as busy as you. So really since then, my focus has been kind of to slow down, not necessarily to try to accomplish less, but, Todd and I talked about it in the last episode a little bit of segmenting time and blocking off time and just allowing enough time for each activity and just not being in a hurry when I do things. And it's so hard to do.
You're arguably the busiest guy I have ever met.
Yeah.
At least like, you always, I'm sure I've met people that maybe are busier, but at least someone that I'm regularly in contact with and I kind of see what you're doing on a day to day and I see all the irons in the fire that you have going on in your life, both in your personal life and your business and all the things you want to do. It's like, I don't see how you find time to, sit down and have a meal,
Yeah. Well, and 3 weeks ago, that makes me feel good, right? But now I'm like, is that I don't know, I guess we're doing a lot, but is that the perception of, he's just busy, right? I don't know. It's interesting. It's a very new concept and new idea. So highly recommend that book. That's going to be one I'll go back directly to page 1 and just read probably a couple of times because there's so much in there and it's so good. So anyways, that's been
so trying to slow down a little bit.
Trying to slow down a little bit. This past week has helped. So for last Friday, we drove over to Atlanta to my in-laws, Rachel's parents, on Thursday night. Friday morning, I had a supercar driving experience around a racetrack.
Awesome.
And it was as cool as it sounds.
That's pretty rad.
Yes, it was awesome. So I drove a Porsche GT3. It's like a $300,000 car, and all my friends were like, "How fast did you go?" Because it goes, I think 295 miles an hour, and I went 95. I didn't even
I
break.
bet
100.
that felt good though. I mean, how often do you drive 95 miles an hour on a racetrack?
Yeah. Well, the thing, and they were like, "You didn't even break 100? Like, what are you doing?" And the track was Atlanta Motor Park Speedway, which is like north. It's kind of not even Atlanta, like north. And it was a lot of elevation up and down and like hairpin turns.
Yeah.
And I didn't know the track. Looking back, I wish I'd studied the track a little bit more to know what I was getting into. But we only got a couple laps in the car, and so by the time I kind of knew what was coming over the next hill that was blind, like it was like, all right, well, we're done.
Yeah.
And so the first couple times, I look back. I have a video of like my speed. I'm going like 35 miles an hour around this turn, and like you can see the instructor. He's on video, like just really bored. But I felt like I was going so fast. So I'm coming up over this blind hill, not knowing am I going left, right, immediately, what's going on. And so look, it's probably funny to watch the video. Like that's really boring, but in the moment, man, it was so fun.
Yeah, that's exciting. You know, we've got a shout out to Barber Motorsports, no way affiliated with this podcast, but I was actually there this week doing some work over there. My company, we service the theater that they have there, where they run a kind of a 15-minute video on a loop that tells you about the history of the park and how George Barber got involved and how he grew his motorcycle collection, the whole nine. So we could go down a rabbit hole on that one.
Yeah.
But while I was there, they have the Porsche driving school there as well. And so I was able to walk out. They got a bridge that goes over the track. And you can literally stand there and watch the cars go under.
That's cool.
And so, it was pretty cool to see that. And I've never been a big car guy, but I know a lot of people like just love it. I've got friends that are just super into it. And so, if you want to keep pursuing that, check out Barber. I don't know how expensive it is, but
well, so it's actually funny. One of my clients, he is a mechanic or a Porsche tech for that.
Oh, okay, cool.
And when we were going through the deal, we hit a couple things, and we ended up getting the deal done. But the whole time, he just such a nice guy, such a nice couple, so appreciative. And he was like, "Oh my gosh, anytime you want to come, just out there and let me know. Like we can get you in a car." And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely. Like, please, let's go now." And that was super cool. So got to do that. But while we were over there, so we stayed half the weekend in Atlanta, and we actually left our daughter with her parents for the whole week. And so this past week has been kind of like a staycation. It made it easy to implement the eliminate hurry concept.
Sure, yeah.
Because we kind of treat Rachel works Thursdays. She only works one day a week. So Tuesday we had a massage, went and played mini golf, went to a movie, like just kind of had a slow week. And so it was a good week to kind of practice that eliminating hurry concept. And now they came back yesterday, and so they're here. She's back home, and it's back to the craziness. But trying to keep that mentality and practice that in every day is going to be tough, but it's nice.
Yeah, I know you said you mentioned on the episode with Todd that you like to always have your calendar full, even if you're scheduling in like kind of that reset time or time with family. I think you coined the phrase "no white space" on the calendar, and so I think that's really important, even with leisure time, is like being diligent about scheduling it and stuff. And I've learned a lot listening to you about that. It's like, wow, I could probably do a better job even with my free time of like not letting it, I guess in my own way, not letting it go to waste, if that makes sense. Like really taking the time, on a Sunday afternoon or something. It's like, well, what could I do that could be fun and beneficial, even if it's like, hey, I need to, my mountain bike's collecting dust, and let's get out there and go ride and go do something versus just like sitting on the couch and watching YouTube or something. So
being intentional with it.
Being intentional.
It's good. Much easier said than done, because you find yourself just kind of like, I've sat here for 45 minutes and I haven't done anything. Right? And I'd fall into that all the time. But just trying to be intentional and plan it out has helped, a little bit in my schedule. So
cool. Well, I basically haven't talked to you the entire month of July. So what was July like for you? I mean, this is a real estate podcast. What's the market been going on?
So it's a little bit more of the same. So we're still in a weird spot where we've got not much inventory. We've got pretty low inventory out there. But unlike the past 2 years where demand was just crazy and multiple offers and tons of cash, it's slowed down to where demand isn't quite where it was last year. And that's been, the story since really March of this year, and even maybe a little bit before that. But you've got such high interest rates that are still climbing a little bit. I think last week the Fed raised their rates where if you remember when we had Travis on, he kind of talked about the indirect relationship with the Fed raising rate into mortgage rates, and he knows more. Go back and listen to that episode if you want to learn more about that. But that's going to indirectly affect mortgage rates, kind of on the higher side in the next week or two as we see those kind of tick up. And it didn't help that the Fed also said, hey, we're probably going to do one more by the end of the year, meaning everyone's just kind of like, if I don't have to buy, is it really the time I want to buy? And then sellers are saying, well, I'm locked in at a 2.8 or a 3.5. I don't have to move, but I kind of want to, but I'm not going to an 8% mortgage. So it's kind of stuck or stale, if you will, for a little bit. So what we're seeing is days on market sit for a little bit longer. I've got stuff from $900,000 in Homewood, like the prettiest house you'll ever see, all the way to my flip in Avondale at $260,000, still just kind of sitting. They're still showing a lot of activity, people coming through it, but just no contracts, no offers. And based off all the feedback I've gotten, I don't think I'm overpriced. I don't think anything is wrong with the product. There's just not as many people are pulling the trigger as quickly right now.
Okay, well, maybe that's kind of reassuring to any of the realtors out there listening that are thinking about, man, should I drop my price another $10,000? Am I overpriced?
Yeah.
Maybe that's just kind of the nature of the market, Not to speak for any realtors. I'm not a realtor myself, but, that's interesting.
Well, and that's very true. So you've got I'm not going to say a lot, I don't know how many, but I see a lot of younger realtors or maybe not as experienced agents that are used to the past 2 years where, hey, all I've got to do is stick a sign in the yard and it sells pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So now it doesn't sell in the first 2 weeks, and their panic advice is, we've got to drop the price. Where if you just kind of look at the data and back up a little bit, as long as your seller isn't, if time is the priority for your seller, then yeah, maybe that's what you need to do just to get it going. But if their motivation's money and the financing of it, then maybe you just need to sit back and let the market kind of do what it's going to do. Like average days on market now, I think we said, is right at like 36 days, which is like a month, right?
Yeah.
And we're used to 13, I think, was the average.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Last year. So that's one of the biggest changes we're seeing is things sitting but still selling. And when they do sell, your average sales price is within 3% of list price. So it's not like people are just lowballing and things are selling for way less.
Take a little more time for people to find the right thing.
So agents out there, keep your price where it's at. If your people are comfortable and money is the motivator for them to sell, and it'll come back around.
We're in August now, and as we kind of shift into the fall, and all that, I know a lot of people move or wait till summertime to change school districts and stuff like that. What do you see moving into the next month or even the month after, looking into September, the market doing? Including, what the Fed has done and stuff.
Yeah.
Do you see any major changes, or are we going to kind of?
No, I think, historically, the fall is the kind of slower time of the year because people are getting into school and football season, and not as much activity happens in that season. So I think we're going to continue with what I just described into there. Historically, in between school semesters is a pretty big time. December is usually a pretty big year for us. And so we'll see if that hits, and I think that'll depend on, are we going to see those rates come back down, maybe closer to mid to high fives, like some people speculate, or are we going to see them stay in the sevens, and that's going to kind of dictate where the market goes towards the end of the year.
Okay.
Hopefully they drop down a little bit, because it'd be nice to get, because I think that'll encourage sellers to, hey, let's get some more listings out there. I think that'll encourage activity. So that'll be good.
Okay. Well, going on, I know you do a lot of investing and stuff like that. You got any properties you're flipping right now, or anything like that you're working
lots
on?
Lots of movement in that space.
Deals happening?
Yeah, lots of movement in that space. So all year, maybe not all year, but for the past couple episodes, I've talked about the 3 things I've been flipping. The little condo in Vestavia, it closed out. It's sold. We're good on it. So we're done with that one. I just talked about the one in Avondale. It's done. It's ready.
You don't normally sell in Avondale. I was kind of interested. It was we were talking not during one of the recordings, but you had mentioned you had a house in Avondale. I know you're always going wherever the deal is. You kind of stick to Bluff Park and that area. Yeah. How did that come on your plate? Just out of my own curiosity.
So that's one that I bought and flipped, and so it came from a friend of mine that's a wholesaler. that he called me up and said, "Hey, I've got this opportunity." Numbers. We got it for 170. It's a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath. Got it for 170. Our goal was to put about 30 in it. I think we're all in at like 205, under 210, somewhere around there. We've got it on market for 260, which I felt like is priced correctly. We've been on for close to 5 or 6 weeks now, and it really hasn't had a ton of activity. It hasn't shown a ton. The other listings I've got sitting there are still showing a good bit. This one just hadn't had a lot of activity, which I'm kind of scratching my head on because per the data that our market gives us or our MLS gives us, I'm priced right, I think. I did get some feedback from some early showings that the kitchen cabinets were kind of rough. So I actually redid those last week, just rebuilt them.
Okay.
So new kitchen cabinets in there. So hopefully we get some action on that one soon. But so that one's on market, so we're done working on that. So my day-to-day on worrying and visiting and all that is over. And then our big one is the Jamestown Bluff Park flip that we've been working on for 7 months. It's where the Land Cruiser came from. It's in its backyard.
Yeah.
That one's done. On market first weekend, had 2 offers. We're under contract.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So that's a
very
huge,
sought after area, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, and
for anybody that doesn't follow you on social media, I highly encourage them. Follow you on TikTok, Instagram, all the socials, because you're doing a really good job of showing these homes, and I like to think I had a little bit influence on that. But like some of the walkthroughs and stuff that you're doing now, really interesting. And maybe that was the Bluff Park one that I saw recently. It was like staged and
it's got the hidden door. Did you see that one?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So, anyways, if you want to see some of these homes that we talk about on the show, check out Blake's.
Yeah, that one was financially nowhere near the best one we've done, but probably like one of the most fun. Maybe like I don't know if proud's like the right word, but like that project was so fun. I love that one. We got to do some things in there that honestly were not financially the best decision from like an investment standpoint, but just
sometimes you just gotta have fun with it.
Yeah, doing that hit, like we could have kept from the front dining room into the pantry kind of laundry area. It could have been just a case opening, basically a doorway with no door, but instead we custom built in a bookcase that is a hidden door.
Yeah,
and it's like just being able to do cool stuff like that.
Sure,
I like, and I like to think that maybe help it sell quicker than it maybe would have. But
yeah. So going back to the Avondale home again, just out of my own curiosity, what would be the next steps if, say, in the next 3 to 4 weeks, you're still not getting that thing, not getting the offers that you're wanting? What might be a next step that you could do to kind of make that more attractive? Make the deal more attractive.
Once we get in, so average days on market is about a month, and we're a little bit past that. So if we sit for another couple weeks, we'll probably look at a price reduction on that one. We've got a healthy profit built into there, and time is money. We've got a lot of money tied up into the property, and so that we got to look at the opportunity cost as well and say, if we drop the price or take $5,000 or $10,000 less for this property, does that allow us to get all our money back out of the property and go invest it somewhere else to where we could make more than $5,000 or $10,000?
Sure.
And so kind of looking at that opportunity cost of having it sit longer versus just going ahead and getting
time is money. Yeah.
Time is money. Yeah. So those are the 3. We got those taken care of. We've got one that we partnered on with the guy who it turns out was going to be a flip, or is a flip. It was going to be an Airbnb short-term rental that he was going to kind of refinance us out of. But a lot of moving parts in that one, ended up just deciding to sell it. So it went live yesterday, actually. Showing through this weekend. We'd love offers this weekend, but we'll see. It's a little townhouse in Highland Park. $375,000. It's hard to find. Highland Park's a cool area. I love that area.
It is very neat. You can get lost just driving around looking at cool homes and stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't go through there very often, but when I do, it's just like, man, I forget this is even here. All the little nooks and crannies, and just like it's just a neat area. Real hilly, obviously, Highland. So,
Yeah.
Cool.
So we got that one. It's on market. Hopefully it goes. We've got a good bit opportunity cost in that one. We've got a good bit of money tied up in that as well. So once we get that, we can roll into something else. And that something else, we're under contract, so I can't give like super specifics yet. But Todd called this on his episode. If you remember, he was talking about relating it to a chess game, and you got to sacrifice some pawns maybe to get a queen or something like that.
Yeah, that was a good analogy.
He called this property my queen. He was like, you got to kind of put aside whatever you're working on and make sure you grab this property. So it's a 22,000 square foot commercial building, office building. It's got somewhere between 40 and 45 offices in it.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
It's huge.
Would this be one of the biggest office buildings that you've ever done a deal on?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Not the biggest deal from a dollar standpoint I've done, but biggest property.
As far as square footage,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, by far. Yeah, I think the biggest one before that is 7,700. It's our one out in Roebuck.
Okay.
So yeah, it's massive. It's A class, so it's operational. It's probably 75% occupied, and so it does well. It makes a little bit of money right now, or it will once we close with the debt we're putting on it. Again, at 8% or 8.35, which is pretty high debt compared to the last couple of years. But it still will make a little bit. But a combination of updating, because it hadn't been updated since it was built in the 70s, raising rents over the next couple of years as leases come and to renew, we'll get them up to market because it's all under rented, and then also filling the rest of the space. And between those three metrics, we'll almost double the income on it.
Oh, wow.
And
awesome.
I'm just fired up about it.
That's cool.
It's, we're in the process of interviewing property managers for office buildings now, which is very different than what property manager that I'm used to is, rent single family house in Hueytown. That's a very different manager than a commercial building.
Yeah.
So we're interviewing those now. We'll close in the next 40 to 50 days. Commercial's funny. You don't have like a set close date until you get through due diligence. So we'll get through that, set a closing date sometime in the next 50 days. And then, we're just let it go. Let the manager, and we'll work with the manager to get that renovated space done and just go all in.
Are you partnering with somebody on this, or is this
I
just
am.
you?
So this one actually, this was interesting. Kind of like Todd, just kind of being in the space when he brought us, Hunter and I, a deal. Just being in the space kind of led to this opportunity coming about. But we have a bunch of mutual friends, a guy named John, and he reached out to me, one, to list an old house he's got, and so we've got it listed. And then he said, hey, I've also got this opportunity. A friend of mine's dad or parents are selling this building, or they're thinking about selling it. I'd love to buy it, but it's bigger than anything I've done. Do you want to partner on it?
Yeah.
And absolutely, right?
Sure, yeah.
So,
oh, no.
So we dove in. So I'm really excited about that. So as we kind of go through that due diligence phase, I'll continue to give you updates on what we're finding. But
Sure. And what area of town is this, or did you already mention that?
it's A-class area, so it's a super nice area. But that's
okay.
all. That's all I'm going to give you for now.
Give the secret away right now. Okay. Well, yeah, we got to talk about that more once that
Yeah.
comes to fruition.
Yeah,
so.
and somewhat of an off-market deal as well, so I wouldn't give it away too much. But once we get it closed, I'll give you all the details. But
all the deets.
Yep.
Cool.
But we've got a lot of work to do. We got to replace the whole roof on a property that size. It's an expensive roof. Got to replace about half the HVAC systems, which again, for 22,000 square feet, that's pretty significant.
HVAC, yeah.
Yep. And then just a lot of general. There was a lot of delayed maintenance or just deferred maintenance, if you will. And so there's just a lot of little things, like
just
lot.
to kind of catch up on. And
Like-
you said it was maybe needs to be updated. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and so like bathrooms, light fixtures, carpet, all that kind of stuff. But really, like elevator, like deferred maintenance on the elevator, on the
Yeah, it's important to have a good
right?
functional
Yeah,
elevator.
you want
I would
that thing
imagine.
working
Yeah.
well. Sprinkler system, like the fire suppression sprinkler system, like that needs a little bit of work. So some of it's like we got to do immediately, like it's a safety issue, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, but I'm excited. We've got a very, very healthy budget to get up and running and going, and then from there, numbers still pencil just incredibly well. As we add tenants, it should just be a great cash flowing machine.
Okay. Well, it's always good to kind of catch up on what you have going on, and you always have a million irons in the fire, and it seems like, and I'm glad you're at least trying to kind of give yourself a little bit of a break, and hopefully that works out. I know that's important, and probably a lot of us could benefit from that, like just kind of stepping back and.
Yeah. Well, one thing I noticed this past week, as it was quote unquote a staycation, is so one of the things that became evident in the past couple of weeks as I traveled a little bit to Chicago, Atlanta, and had a little staycation here, is the implementation of systems that we've built over a number of years in the sales side with assistants in that business, and how much it doesn't need me. I mean, it does, but it doesn't, in the sense of like my team is awesome.
Yeah.
And when
Yeah, you're always bragging on your team.
oh my
Shout out to
gosh,
Arc Realty.
yeah, and specifically Cindy and Stacy are worked just for us, and man, they're so good, and stuff just went perfectly while I was not there in the minute to minute stuff, and so that was so comforting, and knowing that, hey, that's how you grow and expand, or how I see I can, as if I build out and put people in places, the right people in the right seat on the bus, then let them go, let them do what their unique ability is and what they love to do, and then let me go, buy an office building,
Yeah.
or flip a house, or work on a car, whatever it is. And so that became even more evident. I knew we had pretty good systems, and I knew they were good at their job. But the past couple of weeks, as I've stepped back a little bit and just done other things, it's just been incredible to see that.
Kind of just let them lead the charge and,
Yeah.
and do what they do best.
Yeah, which has been awesome. So this past week, in addition to massages and movies and putt and all that stuff, months ago, Stella got a present of a play set, of a swing set that is wood. Just build it real quick, and I was like, I just haven't
saw that clip. Actually,
oh my gosh, I haven't spent the time to do it. So this week I was like,
man.
I'm going to build it while she's gone. She's going to come back to it. And the recommended on the thing, it said intermediate difficulty, 2 people, 8 hours, 875 steps. And I'm like, that's ridiculous. It's a swing set. I can do this by myself in like an hour. No, I can't. I'm done. I finished last night after 12 hours probably.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, it was ridiculous. And I just worked on it all week. I'd like finish at the gym, go spend an hour on it, go, whatever, eat dinner, listen to a podcast, working on it for 30 minutes. It's just, it was crazy. So I did that.
Well, I saw the video that you kind of did a walkthrough. You're like, I'm about to build a play set. And then you showed all the parts laying on your garage floor. And I was like, oh my gosh.
There were so many parts.
Wrecked your set, man.
Yeah.
You built a roller coaster.
I'm going to put a video out today once I'm done, and like all the parts that are left over. That I'm like,
oh, man, really?
I don't know where these are supposed to go.
They don't look crucial.
Yeah. I'm super confident that if someone just showed me a picture and said, build me that, I could have done it in half the time. Just like no plans, just like, give me that structure. But the fact that it had, oh my gosh, I mean, there were over 1,000 screws, and that thing is nuts.
That's crazy.
So we got that, and then again, no white space, kind of setting goals and being intentional with time. I got into running last year and try to keep that up, but without an event or a race sign up, there's really, I would much rather go to the gym and pick up a weight than go run. But if I've got a race that I'm signed up for, then I'm much more
have
intentional
a goal,
about it.
Yeah, sure.
So signed up. So it's in 3 weeks. I just didn't waste any time. Just say, let's just do one. So doing a half marathon trail run in Tennessee on the 26th.
Okay.
So I'm excited about that. So we got a little. It's on some lake. I don't know what lake it is. We got a little Airbnb on the water. There's a group of us, and we'll just go over there.
So I guess you have friends that run that would go with you and do this. You're not just solo on it.
No, it's not. It's not like a independent thing.
Yeah.
Not David Goggins, but.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Going back to your team and stuff, and one of the cool things you mentioned on the last podcast with Todd was just the importance, talking about his properties that he's managing, and he said he's a little bit behind you, but kind of same walk of life, same goals and stuff, and the importance of picking the right, not only members of your team, but also picking the right tenants for your properties.
Yeah.
I was like really interested in that part of how you vet, and I'm sure that could be a whole episode in and of itself. It's like some of the steps. And I know there's a book that you've mentioned a couple times that
that's the first thing that just popped in my mind.
Yeah. And we've talked about that before, but man, that was like when y'all kind of keyed into that, and he mentioned a podcast he listened to. It's basically a landlord-based podcast, and they were just talking about the horror stories and stuff, and some of the things that could totally have been avoided, if the vetting was done properly.
Yeah.
But just me kind of getting into just wanting to hear some of those stories. I'm like, oh, dude, that's so cool. I want to tell me some of those horror stories, So, the importance of picking the right people to not only help you achieve your goals, but also the ones you stick in your homes that are going to be, maybe not just jumping at the first person that waves money in your face. So.
Yeah.
I don't know what led me to that, but I thought that was really good.
Yeah. Tenants definitely make or break on that. Yeah.
But cool. Yeah. Busy summer and a lot of stuff going on.
Getting back from Chicago was kind of like a reset. I took the second quarter was.
Did that just happen? Were you just up there?
Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
Oh, 2 weeks ago. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Maybe you already said that.
Yep. So second quarter, I guess second quarter of the class, so not really second quarter of the year. I guess it was second quarter of the year. I was less intentional with like my time. I had white space on my calendar, right? And so I kind of use that as a reset of like, all right, we're getting back in, getting focused, and signed up for the race, and kind of, doing all that. But also said like, what in my life is like not positive, but not helping me achieve what the bigger goals are.
The
right?
clutter.
The clutter, yeah. And what's just like good to just kind of hit a reset. And so, so for this, at least this month, and really I need to hone this in, but we're cutting out alcohol. We just cut it out completely, which, really wasn't too big of a deal, but it just helps because anytime I have some, it kind of either cancels the day if it's not the end of the night, or just the next morning I don't feel as good.
Sure.
It leads to maybe not working out in the morning, all this. So it's just, there's nothing like super positive about it. And so,
except that it's awesome.
Except that it's right. And though, like, I'm not cutting out.
I'm sitting on the couch watching a football game, and it would be so much better.
Yeah.
Had an ice cold beer. So
yeah. Well, and there are times like I was thinking like maybe post race, like an after race beer is like it's good. It just hits right.
Yeah, live a little bit, man. Yeah, cool.
But just it's like, all right, let's just hit like a little cleanse.
Sure.
And I also looked at caffeine, and I was having way too much caffeine. I was having a pre-workout in the morning before I went to the gym. I was having 1 or 2 cups after I worked out. I'd have one in the afternoon. Just so much caffeine.
Yeah.
And so I just went cold turkey and just cut it all out.
I tip my hat to you for that, man. I don't know if I could function without caffeine.
It really hasn't affected. I love the taste and the smell. Like, I love it.
Mm-hmm. Are you a coffee guy?
Yeah.
You drink coffee?
Just
I love
straight
coffee.
black.
Oh, yeah.
Dark.
I
love it. And so, really, that's because Rachel's still drinking it, and she makes
smell it in the morning.
Yeah.
Oh, dude,
and so it's hard.
That is tough.
But as far as like energy level, it's really as long as I get up in the morning, I drink a ton of water, and I go to the gym or do some form of exercise in the morning. Really hadn't affected my day.
Yeah.
Which is I did not expect that because honestly, it's like I was taking in enough caffeine for an elephant.
Well, I've always heard the argument that you really should limit the amount of caffeine, if not cut it out completely, because then you're more in tune with, okay, my body really needs rest right now.
Yep.
Like versus just thinking, oh, I've got energy, and when your body's actually screaming, like, no, you need to sit down, please stop.
Don't drink
Maybe
that.
Let's go to bed at an hour early tonight or something, something like that.
Yeah. So I guess I cut the uppers and downers out of my life, so we're just staying
middle of the road. Well, that's good, man.
So it's not forever. I love coffee way too much to ever completely cut it out, but
And that first cup, once you come back, whoo,
it's gonna be so good.
It's gonna be so good. I am ready to go.
Yeah, like an addict, I think, coming back. Let's go. So that's what we've got going on. The next biggest piece that I've got to be pretty vague about as well is I've been in conversations with a service-based company that will, what's the right word? It'll help. It kind of folds into real estate to an extent about buying the business. And so looking at
so you're looking at purchasing a business.
Buying a service-based business that complements what I'm already doing.
Okay.
Complements is the word I was thinking of.
Interesting.
And so we're kind of in negotiations right now, and that's as vague as I've got to leave it. But
that's fair. How did that come about? How did that connection come about? Or can you even tell me?
Yeah, absolutely. So So the idea is just diversification of income to an extent. So you've got it's kind of the same thing. I've got.
But how did that opportunity present itself? I guess is what I'm
So conversations with people in my office who deal with this type of service, and a guy I knew who owned his own.
Okay.
And
I didn't know if somebody just called you out of the blue, like, I'm selling this business. And
well, actually, I ran into him, and he brought it up as I had been kind of learning about. Cody Sanchez is huge on YouTube right now about buying a business and buying boring businesses is her kind of thing. And that whole idea of getting something that I'm not the operator, I'm not in it every day, but it's got the right people in the right seat on the bus, and it's just kind of rolling with my oversight, but not operations. Like I'm hiring a COO and everything. And just kind of letting it go and helping it grow because it complements what I'm already doing in the real estate world I'm in. I feel like I can help funnel growth towards it just exponentially.
Yeah.
And so if we can get everything negotiated and worked out, that's a transition we're looking to make, not necessarily from a time standpoint for me, but just in our portfolio of business. And yeah, so
Do you currently own any businesses that kind of fit like that model?
no.
Okay.
No, I don't own any service businesses.
Service-based
Yeah.
business. You don't own like a couple of Papa John's or anything.
No,
like
no.
that? Okay. I
I've been
I
hiding
wouldn't
some
be
pizza from
surprised. You're like, oh yeah, I own a few Burger Kings. You know, just kind of let them
No.
do their thing.
I do have some silent stake in some restaurant space around town, but it's silent, so we don't go too deep into that. But yeah, no
Okay.
full ownership.
Cool
So this will be the first
opportunity.
one.
Yeah, man. Well, I look forward to hearing
Yeah.
about that. It looks like you've got several things. I'm never surprised every time I catch up with you. But yeah, look forward to discussing that in more detail once those two deals come through.
Yeah,
and-
I've been
yeah.
pretty vague this time, but
Yeah.
once those either come to fruition or don't, I can dive in and tell you
Well,
all
stay
about it.
tuned.
Yeah.
Because we'll get into
Little
all
teaser.
that. And I look forward to the next podcast. One of the funnest things we've been talking about is your castle project. Anybody that's
yeah.
been following along, like we usually dedicate an entire episode to that. So
It's gonna be fun.
So check that out in the next one. And Blake, it's always good catching up, man.
Yep, good to see you.
Take it easy.